What's up, fishes? Welcome to today's podcast at Musky Tales. Appreciate you being here. Today's episode is sponsored by Bobbin with Babes, so be sure to check out their Facebook page or check out their YouTube videos. Bobbin with Babes doesn't sound so bad, does it?
No.
So
at this time of year, it sounds like a good thing.
Good thing. Yeah, that is right. So be sure to send us your catch photos too at mycatch@muskytails.com. Today's guest we have with us is Ron Thomas from Lunker Bucktails and Sean Weinstock, which is pro staff for Lunker Bucktails. Welcome and thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Always fun. So today we're going to talk some fishing and lures.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, there you go. So tell me a little bit about Lunker Bucktails, how you got started, and kind of how you became familiar with musky tails, and a little bit of that background.
Well, Lunker Bucktails started out probably 50 years ago.
Holy smokes.
And I started tying flies for fishing on Lake Michigan.
Okay.
And so this was kind of a natural progression.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned that tinkering with baits that were produced by other people, I can make them ever so slightly more effective.
Okay.
And so I tried to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lunker Bucktails came into being in 2016. My wife does most of the skirt tying. I do most of the coming up with creative ideas and get inspired by other people and get inspired by magazine articles, actually. The Bulger phenomena came into being after an article in Musky Hunter magazine. Okay, we can make a Frankenstein bait for you. And so this is one of the original prototypes. And Sean's familiar with this guy because he took a 48.25-inch ski on Lake of the Woods with him.
No kidding. So was that one of the first baits that you actually did? Or
this was one of the first Bulgers that I actually did.
Okay.
As far as bucktails, they have morphed and got refined and gotten bigger and gotten smaller, as the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that muskies are very finicky fish, and the chain muskies particularly, one day they won something with number 7 blades, and the next day they won something with mag 9s.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else in between. And so we've tried to build some baits that fishermen can not just fish but catch fish with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one thing to spend your money, and it's another thing to spend your money on a bait that will produce for you.
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of field testing that's probably been done over the years, and
exactly
refining and changing things up a little bit. But yeah, once you even get the the end product and put it out there, you obviously have to figure out, like you said, today fish want number 7s, tomorrow number 9s. You got to figure out what they're wanting daily. So
and I'm kind of pleased with the results because Sean went fishing with me in 2018 up the Lake of the Woods, and his first personal best was scored on a Lunker Bucktail.
Okay.
He got a second personal best up there on a Lunker Bucktail.
There you go.
He got a third personal best up there on a Lunker Bucktail Bulger.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2019 I had a fish coming in hot on a Triple D, and he was reeling in matter of fact, this Lunker Bucktail.
Exact one, actually.
The exact
color.
The exact one.
Okay.
The exact combination. And he took the fish off my lure and ended up with a 49.25-inch ski.
Very nice.
So
My personal best right now.
49.25, yeah. All right, well done. So good stuff. And you obviously got some great color choices on these.
And so meeting you, we have a mutual friend in Chris Torresano with T-Bone Guide Service.
You got it.
And, coming in here, and he introduced me to you a couple years back. And, I always travel with my stuff because I looked at it always as an opportunity to show off my creations.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are kind of crazy, like the crawtail here.
Mm-hmm.
And coming in and meeting you, and we started talking about let's get the baits in the shop. Let's get the baits in the shop.
Right.
And you were very patient while I was gainfully employed full time. But now I'm officially retired, and I've got time to produce more baits and
fish.
And fish.
And fish
definitely.
is the plan. I hope you get out there. So now, since we started talking a couple of years ago, I know that not all the baits were probably available back then. So you're continuing to kind of figure out what you want. We're
expanding the product line, and if we come up with, I'm actually going to play with the crawdad and make something with frog body.
Okay.
And I expect it to have similar results, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
That, where there's a high frog population on some lakes, I think it's going to be a producing bait.
Okay. So you're going to make the frog go backwards, or how are you going to do that? Or have you thought about that yet?
We'll make the frog go the right way.
Okay, yeah, because
We'll
the crayfish go backwards, but frogs go forward, so you might have to turn them around.
We could put the spinners behind the frog.
Could do some creative things.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So how'd you come up with that idea with the crayfish? I mean, there's a couple baits that are out there that are,
Oh, we were on Lake of the Woods, and we were snagging crayfish, and Chris Torresano was saying he had snagged the crayfish and, unimpaled him. And turned it loose over the side of the boat, and the 48-incher came up and snarfed the crayfish.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like, okay, if I can duplicate a crayfish that looks like it's swimming, looks really natural, I'm gonna give it a whirl. And so for the 2020 season up there on Lake of the Woods, the people that I'll be fishing with, we will have more than a few of the craw blades.
Okay.
And I think they will produce. And it's kind of neat because with the spinner blades located where they are, it really looks like the tail is moving.
Fluttering in the water, yeah.
And Sean can work it way better than I can. And, if you pulse it in where you pause, the way a crayfish moves, pause. I can't see it not producing and getting all kinds of different species to eat it, smallmouth bass, walleye.
I would agree, yeah.
So, I'm optimistic about that one.
Okay.
For this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to make that in different sizes, or is that going to be in that one size only?
I like this one for musky and northern, but yeah, I've got the smaller sizes already.
So you will do that with that one? Okay.
Definitely. Cool.
Do you personally have a favorite of your own kind of creations of what you use or make?
And Sean knows this. This is similar to the original Bulger prototype that I put together for him. Mm-hmm. And it's morphed a little bit over time. I've added a little more weight to the nose. But when this comes in, it really looks like a torpedo is approaching your boat. Mm-hmm. And even though there's a number 7 and a mag 7 and a straight 8 blade in the front, it throws a lot of wake. Really does. And proof is in the pudding. Sean's caught more than a few fish on the chain.
Mm-hmm. That was actually my go-to after Lake of the Woods in come August, right before I think it was right before we had the really warm up of water temps, and then just after too. Mm-hmm. That bait, not this exact one, but this exact style and everything. I had enough fish on this thing where the actual hook came loose, and he had to redo it for me. Okay. But I had that much, the blades were all tarnished and everything just because of, it was on my line every day. Yeah. Almost Monday through Friday. Okay. It was a really hot bait for me on the chain this past season. Mm-hmm.
Now you guys get to Canada, is it once a year then? Or?
Yeah, once a year.
Once a year, Ron maybe more? Or no?
Ron's hoping for more than once a year. More than
that with the retirement stuff,
yes, but I need to talk to the president of Lunker Bucktails, my wife, and say, this is going to be product testing, so I need to get up there. So.
All right.
But I am going to hit Green Bay this year with Sean. Okay. And at least one other time. And so we're gonna test Lunker Bucktails and Bulgers up on Green Bay.
Are you hoping, I know you work with T-Bone Guide Service and some of their staff as well, do you have, or is your hope to get into the hands of other guides and stuff in different areas as well, or are you trying to keep it kind of a closer to home type of thing? Or what are you
at this stage of the game, I just as soon work with people close by, close to home. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I ever want to go mass market production because I can do quality control a heck of a lot better if I'm not spitting out 1,000 baits a year. Sure. And quality control to me is important. I would like to make sure that people get a bait and the thread doesn't fall apart, the skirt stays intact, the skirt the skirt flows in the water. These are things that are important to me, but it's important to the fishermen. Well. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, the quality and the end result. So, why a bucktail? You started Lunker Bucktails, but why a bucktail versus a topwater or a crankbait? I guess. What's your thoughts on that?
I started to look at some of the bucktails that are produced out there, mass market, and it's like, okay, I can do that as good, if not better. Okay. And I think the proof is in the pudding with respect to I can blend skirts as good as anybody that's out there in the industry, and probably better than some. I'm willing to do some crazy things with and I'm not the only one that's doing multiple skirts, double skirts, but the double skirts flow really nice. It's a nice profile in the water. And so, going back to the bucktail, I tied flies, and so it's a natural progression for me.
That's what it is. Okay.
Top waters, I'd love to do some top waters, to be honest with you, but the painting is an issue. And Sean paints for a living, and volatile organic compounds to be breathing in on a regular basis just is not a good thing. And because I'm working out of I'm a basement bait builder essentially. I don't want to pollute my environment with volatile organic compounds, but if I can get somebody to paint, then that might be a consideration. But jobbing out, then you're looking at a top water that's going to be $30-$40 for a base sticker price, and the price of poker goes up from there.
Sure, yeah, and that's one thing I don't think a lot of people realize when they're dealing with the basement lure builders, and because the time, the components, everything, there's a cost to all that, and the quality as well at the end of the day. But from my end, I see and appreciate the the cost and what goes into it, but how are bucktails, I guess, priced against other things that are out there? There's a huge range of bucktail prices. So what's kind of your going rate on some stuff? Where are we at?
I would like to think I'm competitive with just about anything out there in the market. I'm probably a little bit more competitive with respect to bulgers to some of the other things that are out there that are similar. But everything has got a cost, and for the bucktail, I use Flashaboo, Magnum Flashaboo versus a Chinese knockoff.
Okay.
And you're basically looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $3, $4, $5 per lure just for the skirt.
Okay.
The blades can become really, really expensive, especially some of the ones that have got they essentially look like a fish head. Those can be if you're buying retail, $3, $4 a blade. And so it is more economical for a fisherman to buy from me or to buy from another bucktail builder than it would be for somebody to build their own stuff, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, and then just the craftsmanship that goes into it. You can give me all the components and I'm still going to mess it up at the end of the day.
And, I do things that I don't think anybody else in the industry I've noticed doing. Every one of my loops at the front, I grind down.
Okay.
And so Sean and I were up on Lake of the Woods, and I showed him a leader that had not been ground down, and it had impaled my line. Okay. Just that little tag. And so it's like, okay, I don't want that to happen to somebody and then lose a fish, not just the bait, but lose the fish because of a little point. Yeah. And so
do you actually use a hook file and just kind of take it down that way?
I actually take a Dremel. Everything that all my loops are cut with a Dremel. Okay. And then ground down with a Dremel. Okay. And you run your finger over it, run a piece of tissue paper over it, and there's nothing that's going to snag. Okay. Yeah. And that to me is just a little detail, and it's labor intensive. It puts another 3-4 minutes into the production, and time is money. But I don't want to lose a fish.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. And for people that have maybe other lures where that is sticking out a little, maybe a hook file is a good thing to pay attention to, because
I think that would be a really good idea.
Yeah, so
and some of them are pretty gnarly. And it's like, okay, that's an accident waiting to happen.
Correct,
in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't look for in that type of stuff. But yeah, good point. And then I know another thing is how the baits are tied, and wrapped and all that. So maybe talk a little bit about what makes you different with that aspect.
What I like to do is use a cyanoacrylic. So for the layman, it's a crazy glue. Okay. And then obviously when I'm done with crazy glue, I will hit it with an appropriate nail polish or nail enamel, and so I'll coat it again. And so I've yet to have any of my ties, and some of them have had pretty hard use. I've yet to have a tie that is unwrapped, unwound. Okay. And Sean's put my baits through the ringer, and
Sounds like he beats on them.
Yeah.
What
Couple
happens
docks here and
is we actually start losing some of the flashaboo as opposed to it's getting worn down from fish eating it and from the blades hitting it. But this one went through a solid week of hard fishing up at Lake of the Woods, and that wrap is as good as the day I tied it.
Okay. Yep.
This was the bait of choice actually for me all week up there. I don't think I took this off unless I put a topwater on.
Okay.
And you can see in the blades they're all nicked up and beat up, and it is off kilter from a couple fish, but it held up for me, and I don't see a whole lot of rash on there, but yeah, it's a good bait.
Yeah. And what about from a performance standpoint? I mean, what do you see different, if anything, when it's going through the water compared to other baits out there?
His flow's a lot better. It's almost like he knows exactly the length that he needs for the skirt to be at to make it poof.
Okay.
A lot better. Like it's hard to explain, but if you know it, you know it. His skirt flares.
Yep.
In the water. I mean, even if you like pulse it, it blooms really, really wide. And sometimes, actually, on that 49, that's what made her eat.
Okay. So then you got to know how to work them too, then, obviously. Yeah. Every bait you should be doing
the
that.
Bulger in 2018, Sean got it to go several times around in the figure eight.
Okay.
And it just got angrier and angrier that it wasn't catching it. He gave it just a little slack, and she just sucked it down and away, and the rodeo started.
There you go.
And the good fish, really heavy body fish, and the guide was throwing a Bulger of a different manufacturer, and it decided to eat this one versus the competition, so that made me a happy camper too.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you still making the Bulger in this size, or is it this size only now?
I make them in this size, pretty much custom orders, because this to me is too big for the chain.
Okay. And what's this, about 12 inches in total length, or 11? Or do you know? Or
off the top of my head, I want to say 12 or 13.
Is that okay? Yeah. Okay.
And double tens, you can use double tens on the chain, but you get tired throwing them pretty darn quick.
Yeah, it's a big bait, but yep.
It moves a lot of water. Like you were talking about top waters earlier.
Yeah.
If you work it right and really get the speed going at first, just to make it, it's called a Bulger because it bulges right underneath the wire. The blades,
so subsurface.
The double tens make it subsurface, and it creates its own wake.
Okay. You got the French blades on this, and then you've got other Bulgers with the different blades on it. What are those, 8s or?
One's a Mag 7 and one's a straight 8.
Okay. And then, so obviously you switch up the blade sizes, the weights,
the
stagger
shapes. Is going to give different harmonics in the water. And so, I started playing with French blades because it's like, okay, we're gonna give them an experiment and see if under certain conditions the French blades will move fish when the Colorados won't.
Okay.
And I've seen on the chain, French baits have been effective periodically, not 100% of the time. But so it's like, okay, let's produce something for the chain with French, and in hopes that we're going to put some more fish in people's boats.
Okay.
That way.
And with that experimenting, any thought process behind that in terms of, I guess, the science between, the water movement on a French versus the 7s, 8s, or other?
There's not a whole lot of research done on blade types.
Yep.
And, it's kind of a shame, but, musky fishermen are a minority compared to walleye fishermen and bass fishermen. So the bigger
we still
tackle
have a
companies,
population.
Yeah, exactly. And so the bread and butter is going to be for different baits. And so the one thing I can say is I've fished French bladed inline spinners since I was a kid, and they've produced, and they continue to produce today. And I made a even smaller version of this guy for Sean with 2 French, a black and a chartreuse, and he put fish in the boat with that one this summer. So it's like that's going to become part of the product line.
Yeah, and everyone's got, of course, their different opinions of what they like to use. Even the other day when I had a customer in buying some baits, was talking about getting getting them made with, a certain blade color or type or size, and being able to do that. So, where can people currently get Lunker Bucktails?
Well, Lunker Bucktails right now are exclusive over at Musky Tails.
You got to be kidding me.
If I'm lying, I'm dying.
Oh, I got to get my shopping cart. So
there you
they're
go.
about 50 feet the other side of the room
50
here.
50 feet the other side of the room.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got, I think, about 30 different styles.
Yep.
All unique.
Yep.
And, hopefully we'll be able to expand the product lineup to, 40 and 50 in the not so distant future.
Yeah. And you're always willing to make custom sizes and change it up. Just tell us what it is. And yep. So,
but, going back to designs that produce, in 2018, the single blade was a killer on Lake of the Woods. And Sean, 13
Musky.
13 Muskies on
first time up there.
For the first time up on Lake of the Woods. No kidding.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that one. Nice.
Yeah.
And going back to the customization of his, which I really wanted to get into, his blades are different too. I mean, it seems like everywhere you go, if you buy it off the shelf, they're all going to be 0.08 or a 0.18 blades
and 0.25.
Whereas he ranges, them all. He's got the hammer blades right here. He's got hammer cowl. I've never even seen those before. And then he's got the .40s here that, they just give a different thump.
Absolutely.
They're actually top heavy compared to back end. So if you're looking to weight it down to, he'll, he gets his base down to, was it 1/10 of an ounce?
Oh, yeah.
On specifics.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a heavier bait, he can make them for you if you're fishing really deep. Or if you're trying to burn it over weeds, but you're trying to keep it still in the water instead of blowing out.
Right.
He can, do that for you. That's really what made me switch from, a manufacturer at Bass Pro versus his stuff.
Okay. And as far as the blades running, it doesn't really matter if you got different sizes or weights. They're all consistently running pretty darn smooth.
Oh, they all run definitely smooth. Sometimes I actually prefer to do just the oddball because, again, a mass manufacturer, they seem to be always the same thickness.
Okay.
He can do the .40s and a .25 and smack them together and make a hybrid of, well, it's going to have a different vibration. So like you were saying, some days they want this, some days they want that. Some days they want something that no one even knew they wanted.
Right.
So it'll, if you're having a lot of follows, sometimes that'll, to me, I love buying baits and whatnot, just like any other musky fisherman, but it's always something, nice to have something different that other guys don't have.
Right. Absolutely. It'd be easier if the fish were on Mondays French blades, Tuesdays number 7s, and had a schedule that.
We've tried to put a menu in the water.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. Maybe we're on to something. We
can
try and figure this out.
Time to bite ought to work on that.
Yeah, see, time. Yeah, there you go. Sounds good.
But the beads that I use, with rare exception, are solid beads versus hollow. And so I like to graduate the size of beads. And so the clevis sits on what I refer to as a little bearing bead.
Okay.
And so having the blade spin has never been a problem for me. If I do big staggered blades, I'll actually put a nylon washer just underneath the clevis, and they'll spin. They really, really, really will spin.
Okay.
And so, you can fine tune things. In the world, you put a little bend at the top, and if your blades are having a hard time getting started, then they call that a gentleman's bend. And so you put about a 30-degree bend on it. And, some people just do that all the time anyway. And
so buy a bait and bend it?
And bend it,
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So some of the guides that I fish with, it's like, okay, first thing, I'm going to own this bait, and I'm going to bend it. And away you go.
So that kind of initiates the blades of the spin to engage, or what is it? Is that what it is? It dives down a little bit? Or?
No, it sets the initial pull on a little bit different plane or trajectory, and so it'll get the blades to start a little bit quicker, especially if you're using staggered blades. Okay,
that's interesting. Okay. The other thing I noticed too is I'm holding here, you got, obviously the red blades or the red hooks. You got that.
I've got silver, I got bronze, I've got black.
So you just switch it up and
not only do I switch it up, but I try to tie things in. If you've got some red or orange belly, we're gonna get a red. If we're doing all black, then we're gonna do black at the bottom.
Okay.
So it's just while it's probably somewhat anal, the attention to detail,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I actually like the fact that, you know, the hook actually matches the bait.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, it's just the thing I've got. And, you know,
You got fashion design background or something, or?
well, I've got a background in the hospitality industry, and
Okay.
so, you know, menu design and merchandising
There you
is
go.
something
All right.
I know a little bit about.
So
And
there's
so,
a
you know,
strategy.
oh yeah, and the first rule of thumb, and anybody who's ever built and sold baits is going to tell you this: you got to catch the fisherman's eye ahead
Right.
of the fish's eye,
Mm-hmm.
because if this could be the best bait in the world, but if nobody wants to buy it because they don't have confidence in it or doesn't look good,
Mm-hmm.
it's never going to hit the water.
Right. No, I
And,
agree.
you know, you and I and Sean and, you know, all the other fisher people that are out there have a tackle box full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you actually use? You know, half a dozen lures that are your go-to, and everything else is like, yeah, I bought that. I thought it was pretty, but
Yeah. You got to get them wet sometimes, but yeah.
Oh,
so-
exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, and you're absolutely right. People buy baits a lot just based on the appearance of them on the shelf. So
But, you know, we know chartreuse and black is a go-to color out on the chain.
Mhm.
And, you know, anything that I put together that's chartreuse and black is, for the most part, caught fish out there.
okay, so you got this. Would you use that one as well here on the chain? I know you said
I would
Canada.
use that on the chain, but in the scaled-down version.
Okay, so and that's got the 10 blades. No, those aren't 10s, are they?
It's a 9 and
That's,
an 8.
yeah, I was gonna say okay. Okay, and then the other thing that kind of caught my eye with the larger one here on the Bulger is you've got the bead versus the weights, and I know you mentioned it, but talk about.
I'll do a glass bead on occasion just to give it a little bit of. It'll catch light.
Okay.
And refract, and so I'd love to do more. I'll do a purple bait actually custom. I'll use genuine amethyst beads,
Mm-hmm.
which get to be really, really expensive, but you know they're more durable than glass, and so it's going to last quite a bit longer.
So with the bead, would you suggest that maybe in a clear water you would use the bead because the light's penetrating, or not necessarily? That's just my initial thought.
The bead is going to actually change some of the harmonics of the bait too.
Okay.
So you know they're all going to vibrate, and when the glass hits the metal, it's going to vibrate differently than
Okay.
metal
on
versus
metal. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And anything I could do to give it an edge, I'm going to try to do. I
Mhm.
really am.
Mhm.
You know, people spray their baits with WD-40, and it's like, okay, if it works for you, don't stop doing it.
Sure.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and if I ever have a problem with a clevis that, you know, got snagged in rocks, and you know I don't have the means to fix it, field repair could be WD-40 on some of my baits too.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. And you talked about retirement and kind of hoping to get on the water more. Do you guys plan to fish together a lot, or do you have a variety of a team that you're going out with, or do you need to call me, or what are you thinking here? So.
You can't get out and fish because
yeah.
you've got too many businesses going.
So.
But you know, Sean and I, in an ideal world, we'll get back to Lake of the Woods again and fish
Okay.
that. And we're definitely going to hit Green Bay together this year. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, on the chain, you know, he's got a father, and I'm which I'm not. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, more power to him to get his dad out as often as he can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I know you guys are both local enough to be out here quite a bit. Sean, you're on the water how many days a week?
At least 4.
4 days a week and all year long, huh?
Oh, yeah, I was out today actually
Okay.
on the ice.
Yeah.
A little sketchy, but yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Ron doesn't do sketchy ice.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun, but
No.
and obviously these aren't being used for the ice fishing, but
No.
you could have fun with that crayfish bait down there, kind of messing with that one.
Just pump it vertically, that's all.
There you go.
Get them blades going.
We talked about, I mentioned fashion design. Speaking of fashion, look at that shirt you're wearing, Lunker
Hey,
Bucktails.
Lunker Bucktails.
LB.
You got to get out there.
I love it.
Pound.
I was gonna say, so that means you're catching heavy fish, huh?
Yeah, we do. We'll accept little muskies, but we really want something that's this big
Yeah.
between the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you should, on your pockets, you should have pound, and then it's got the 30 club, the 40 club, and all that, and give T-shirts away when they get a 40-pounder, right?
Yeah, well, give T-shirts away when they get a 40-pounder would be right. Yeah, as long as they get pictures. With
there
proof.
you go. Yeah, no
And
fish
and
stories.
that's the key. And so
We'll take the fish stories.
You know, I encourage anybody who's using a Lunker Bucktail and they get a picture of it. You know, take a picture, get it over to you at Musky Tails,
Yep.
or get it over to me via Facebook. And I love to see people with big smiles on their face, with a big fish in their arms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In today's social media, obviously, we need to do a lot of that. So, Sean, when you going to be out this year? Then, obviously, first, as soon as ice is gone, you're on the water. Is that the plan?
Oh yeah, I'll be out.
Or next year, I should say.
Talking next year. Hopefully, I'll be out in March.
Yeah.
And if it's hoping for it, and once you get the itch, you get the itch. So.
Okay. So
as
that
soon as there's
early in
open
the
water,
year,
oh
as soon
yeah,
as the ice is gone, you're out there, huh?
As far as I'm concerned, my boat's ready to go in the water anytime
Okay.
we get thawed out.
So early in the season, are you guys using the smaller spring profiles, or do you have kind of a thought process, in terms of how you start the season in terms of bait type or size?
Well, I like to downsize and go with a single blade versus a double blade.
Okay.
That we're able to move it nice and slow.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes them fish are a little more lethargic
Okay.
than you like them to be.
Okay. So size really doesn't matter. It's just more of moving it slower in the water and using a single blade is kind of the thought.
Smaller baits in the spring.
Okay.
The metabolism is not juiced up like it would be in July and August. And
Right.
so you got to present it slow, and it's easier to present something slow that's littler.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know.
Okay. And as far as the smaller baits in general, you've got, what's the name on this particular one?
Don't have a name for it.
We
yet.
don't. Well, let's come up with one. So all right. So, and that'll be a bait that you'll be doing more of in 2020.
This could be like a munchie.
A munchie. All right. So
like that.
you heard it first here
Yeah, a musky
on the Musky
munchie.
Tails podcast, the munchie. And then which one is this?
That's a jelly bean.
That is a jelly bean.
And the very first time we had it out here on at night, Andy Shearer and I, Captain Andy Shearer of T-Bone Guide Service, within half a dozen casts, he got a strike on that. I got a 43.5 incher on that, and I lost a giant on that one.
All on the same day.
All on the same night.
Same night. Yeah.
Night.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, gold is a good color on the chain as well.
Okay.
And daytime or nighttime, it didn't matter, because that's one of those fish I wish I would have a do-over on.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was good.
Huh.
It was good. For a fish to move me, it's a big fish. And,
Okay.
the rod pulse, but I'm in 2 foot of water, and so all it took was a good shake of the head and have a nice day.
Uh-huh.
But I'd love another shot at that fish.
Yeah. Breakwater or no?
No,
Just underneath and shallow,
yeah,
huh?
underneath and shallow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer.
Oh yeah.
So, okay. And then we've got the jelly bean, and then this looks like the same. That's the bulger.
That's one of the bulgers.
And the bulger's got, what was the idea with that then in terms of kind of the body style or the hard body on there?
The hard body actually helps with flotation. And
Okay.
So, it's going to help it to stay subsurface. And
Okay.
so you can slow roll that, or you can wake it in. Depends on what you want to do.
Okay. But it's
And-
not buoyant, obviously. It's going to go down.
It will sink.
Yep.
It will sink. But,
Okay.
we could play with that and put smaller beads on the front. And Sean likes it weighted less than that one is at this point in time. But,
Okay.
it depends on what the angler is comfortable with.
Mhm.
And, I'm willing to make the accommodations for the angler. So
Sure.
if somebody wants something really, really light so it'll hang, I'm happy to do that for them.
Yeah. And what do you like about having a lighter weighted version than that? What is appealing with you?
It just seems to bulge better for me.
Okay.
To boil, I guess, on the top of water, it just
Yep.
seems to, I've played with the heavier ones. I just can't get them to roll the same way as the one that I had. I had, this one in my other boat and the other ones that he was telling me to play with. I'm like, I'm just not seeing the same fish. And then I throw it on there. I mean, it's all preference, as far as my speed and, how I do it. But it just seemed like the lighter one seemed to work just higher in the column for me personally. And I was able to roll slower, because if you're doing the heavier one, it seemed for me like it wanted to dive rather than my whole thing was keeping it just at that almost top water.
Okay.
It's not a prop bait, but it might as well be a top water bait
Okay.
because you're in the top 2 inches.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And as far as fishing organizations and groups, what are some of the connections you guys have or people that you work with within the sport? Any particular groups?
Member Muskies Inc.
Okay.
And Chicagoland Muskie Hunters is my chapter.
Okay.
And been a member for about 3 years now.
Okay.
And we've got a flea market coming up in March in
Okay.
Rolling Meadows. Thank you. And it's a good place to look for used equipment. I believe Musky Tails is going to have a table there.
Yep, we'll be there.
We'll be there as well, and hopefully sell some baits and talk about fishing. And attendance is typically pretty strong. Around 1,000 people run through, and hoping that the weather holds and we get a good turnout again this year.
Yeah, it's always a good event. Yep, that's for sure. John, are you a member with any of the fishing clubs at all? Or
no? I'm just a regular fisherman.
Just a regular fisherman. Okay, that's all good. Yeah, no, I'm just kind of curious what some of the background. I know you're around a lot and we see you. So, as far as you guys do any of the tournament stuff or not necessarily?
I thought about it, but I just never got into it.
That's fine. I'm just kind of curious. Okay. Sounds good. Well, we can start putting these baits in people's hands in the tournaments would be a good idea.
Exactly.
So.
And, I think there are going to be fishermen who are going to walk in here and say, okay, what's a hot color combination?
Right.
Because every time I come out to the chain and talk to people who are launching their boats, there's always somebody, I'm fishing the chain for the first time. You got any tips? And so, the tips that I would say to somebody, it's like, if you're not throwing black and chartreuse
on the chain.
Yeah, on the chain, you really need to think about it.
Okay.
And then, the backup color would be black and silver or gold.
Okay.
I know there's a pretty famous fisherman who likes to throw purple and white out there on the chain.
Okay, yeah.
We would try to accommodate that as well.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and you do hear the purple is popular as well. So, yep. And the guy that was through the other day actually bought, I think, was it a purple and white or all white? I forget. But, yep. So, but everyone's got their faves. So
exactly. And, you've got to have confidence in the color, and you've got to have confidence in the lure. Otherwise, it's never going to hit the water.
Right. Yeah.
And so, going back to me, I grew up fishing rapalas, and it's like, okay, I have not thrown a rapala on the chain yet.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's like there's better baits that I have higher confidence in.
Right.
And so, I try to regularly test another one, and if we're trolling, it's like, okay, put a different one out there in the spread just to see. And every once in a while, you hit a home run.
Yeah.
I've got a collection of antique lures, and running some Bagleys one day, and that was the bait to try to outfish because the Bagleys produce like crazy.
Sure, yeah, and I'm sure if you put some of those back on the line and got out there, those are going to catch fish too. But like you say, everyone's got the confidence bait.
Exactly.
And kind of go to it. And, when we talk to people that come in the shop here, we try and tell them, have your baits that are going to run at different, areas in the water column. And, and you even do want to have, you mentioned top water, Sean, and you want to have a top water bait and a crankbait and try and cover all the different lure types.
Oh, yeah. And, going back to being a small custom bait builder, I've built bucktails for people that weighed over 5 ounces. And then I can do something, if you really want something light, I can do hollow beads and I can get it down to probably just about an ounce.
Okay.
And so, there's a difference from my perspective and a lot of anglers' perspectives on a spring and a fall bait or spring and a fall inline spinner bucktail versus the summer. The summer baits, you better have probably an ounce heavier.
Okay.
So they can get down
deeper, colder water.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And we've seen that the past 3 years on the chain, and I don't think that's going to change.
Okay.
So, you can have I actually build this guy in a couple of different weights because it's like, okay, in the summertime, you want something that gets down. And so we'll put the 040 blades on it and we'll put some more weight into the body and it will present itself deeper. And, I can get a blade to run probably 5 to 8 foot down.
Okay.
Which is, a good depth in the summertime. If you want to hit the edge of the weed line at the deep water side.
Do you have plans of trying to come out with other designs of what you have, or are you kind of content with 2020 being and just kind of fine tuning these, or what are you?
Never happy.
Never.
I like to experiment.
So you'll be trying new stuff then. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Through pro staff, and you mentioned T-Bone Guide Service, so they probably throw a lot of your baits as well.
Andy Shearer throws a heck of a lot of my baits.
Okay.
And he really doesn't have a bucktail sponsor, and so I would consider him a pro staff member as well.
So you're the go-to bait for him as well on that stuff. Then okay.
He likes to throw my stuff.
Yeah.
And he's seen it in action on Lake of the Woods.
Yeah.
He was a guide for Sean and I in 2019 or 2018 when this one was successful, and in 2019 when that one was successful, and he saw the Bulger take a fish away from him, and so the list goes on and on. So he understands that my stuff is producing.
Okay. You got a lot of his pictures up on your Facebook, or
a fair amount.
Yeah, do you? Okay, yeah. I'm just kind of curious. So I'm sure some of yours are on there. And
we're trying to put some into the shop as well. So
yeah, exactly. We've got a few nice photos here, and we want to encourage people to please send in your pictures, because whether it be on your Facebook or to mycatchatmuskytails.com, it's just kind of sharing what's been caught and what's going on the water and what's out there.
People want to know what's out there in the chain and what swims. And, we've all talked to other fishermen. We've talked to the IDNR biologists. There's 50-inch muskies in the chain.
Yep.
And at the right time of the year, that 50-inch muskie is going to be 35, maybe 40 pounds.
There you go. T-shirt. Free T-shirt.
Oh, yeah, T-shirt. No, heck with the T-shirt. Give me the
state record. Yeah.
Give me the state record.
Yeah, so.
You get a state record. T-shirt. No, it's going to be more than a T-shirt.
There you go.
Just state record on a Lunker Bucktail. So.
Sure. Yeah, they're out there, so got to be throwing them. So hopefully some good fish are caught this upcoming season. So very good. Anything other that you guys wanted to make sure we touched on?
Just, thanks for the opportunity to show off my stuff. I appreciate Sean coming out. And, it's one thing to hear from the person who produces. It's a whole other thing to hear from a fisherman who has got 4 personal bests.
I was going to say the end user and had a lot of success. Yeah. And Sean, you short fish too a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I caught quite a few muskies this spring from shore.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
We see them in the shallows, walking shores at the boat launch and stuff.
I had a monster just cruise right behind me this spring. I mean, it was probably the biggest muskie I've ever seen on the chain.
Oh, really?
And it just kind of came up, went sideways and zigzagged and was gone.
Okay. That's fun.
He managed to pull off Fish of the Week twice this year.
Oh, really?
Chicago Sun-Times. So
okay. So
for those who are interested, they can do a search for Sean Weinstock and Chicago Sun-Times Fish of the Week.
There you go.
See his smiling face.
There you go. What'd you get on those? Do you remember?
The first one was a 43 from shore.
Okay.
And the second one actually is my chain personal best that came on this bait right here, actually.
Okay.
It was just after the really, really hot days, and I had been bass fishing all day long waiting for the temps to go down, and went over to Kathy and started tossing it around. And as soon as I saw the temps get to, like 79, 78 degrees, and went at it.
Okay. And you mentioned the big fish in the spring from the shore that you talked about, and you talked about a big fish on the Jilly Bean at night when you were out with Andy, I think you mentioned.
Correct.
Was that early in the season too? Or?
That actually was September.
Okay, I thought you threw out when it was, but that was later in the year then. Okay, so big fish at all times of the year. They don't shrink.
I pay attention to the lunar cycle.
Okay.
And so that September was a full moon type of evening. So, it's neat to fish by the light of the full moon, but it's also can be very productive. And, having been out on the chain at night on more than one occasion, it's an opportunity for people because the boat traffic really, really dies down.
Okay.
And so, I would encourage people to get out and, be safe on the water at night, but get out there and fish because the fish are active.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you do a lot of the night stuff, or is it tough with the schedule?
It's tough with my work schedule, but I have done it, on the weekends where I'm not busy doing other stuff with friends. I've produced, I've produced 2 or 3 muskie out there, but it's hard to get out at night for me.
Yeah. Do you pay attention to the lunar cycles? Or?
Oh, yeah.
You do? Okay.
Not every time I go out muskie fishing, but 9 times out of 10 I'll check to see, where I'm at in the lunar cycle. I make sure I'm out for every full moon.
Okay.
I haven't really noticed it for me for a new moon.
Okay.
But some people swear by it.
Right. Yeah. Again, just like the baits, everyone's kind of got their vision or idea of what works and what doesn't.
Moon phases.
Are we good today, or
on the phone?
All right.
Let me see.
I'll go break up the ice.
Hunting and fishing today? No, we don't want to know about 10% off. No, the rating today is like 1 star.
Okay.
Totally average kind of day.
Well, then I'm staying in.
Yeah, stay in today.
All right. I got some better things to do. So very good. Well, we appreciate you guys being on the show, and for the podcast viewers, please share, subscribe, and like our podcast, and get on their Facebook page for Lunker Bucktails. And we look forward to trying to do some events together, maybe in 2020, or get out fishing together, or whatever it may be, or just have you here in the shop.
Welcome the opportunity.
Yeah,
That's all I can say.
Yeah, and as we do some different seminar stuff too, we'd love to have you guys back to maybe present, some seminars that we do, and
Absolutely.
just for the public in general. And it's a great way to kind of get the word out there, and get your bait in people's hands.
Like to see people using it. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, very good. Thank you for your time, and
thanks for
being on the show here today,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks again for the opportunity.